The core plot of the movie is that a girl has gone missing and her father, who's a guy called Gabriel, is looking for her. That's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, and in doing so, he comes across her bizarre mix of friends who are, I think they're cyber-goths, I think it is.
Okay, yeah, certainly quirky teenagers, yes.
And in doing so, he has to buddy up with Tegan, one of his daughter's friends, and I think we've got a clip of that, of them sort of discussing life. Yeah,
this is a great little soundbite from the film because it gives you a sort of impression about what it's like, because we just described to you the plot, but you're not going to hear any of the plot in this clip. You're going to hear just Tegan and Gabriel, this girl's dad, just chatting away in a car. So here you go.
I was playing this game last night and there was no characters. And the aim of the game is to see how long you can last being isolated. You kind of like see what the world's like and you appreciate it more.
How long you last?
There we go. Very sort of existential.
Ethereal, you might say, yeah.
Would you say ethereal?
I don't know what ethereal
or is it ephemeral?
means.
One of those two. I can never remember. I think ephemeral might be ghosts. Listeners, the best way to describe Spaceship, I think, is that this is an impressionist sort of film. So if you're familiar with impressionist painters, you can vaguely see the object of the painting, but it's sort of completely morphed into various perspectives or colours or interpretations. Everything around the object plays a bigger part than the object itself. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Probably not impressionism, but, I'm going with it.
No, but I think that's a fair thing. I don't think it's necessarily a film that's meant to be straightforward or accessible in a normal, conventional way of a film. I think the film is designed to wash over you, and you kind of meant to be immersed and sort of weirded out in some ways by this other world that you haven't really come across, this teenage world where they're trying to be completely individual and almost alien. I guess that's why it's called Spaceship.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, and you can hear from Alex's interview, that was obviously part of the goal from him as well. There was this sort of fluid approach to the making of the film, and there was a bit of freedom to explore the characters and broaden out the world and experiment with the script. I think I would say is absolutely not mainstream. Would you agree with that, Phil?
Yeah, I think so. I think it will appeal to some, but a lot of people I think will probably be intrigued but also slightly weirded out. I think that's kind of my feeling. I have to be honest. It wasn't the normal sort of film that I've seen, or a film it wasn't really like a film I've ever seen before.
No.
And it was, I guess it's quite art house. I don't really know. I feel
I suppose that the highest praise I can give it in this case is that I have watched a film called To the Wonder, which is Ben Affleck, and it's a Terrence Malick film. Have you ever seen any Terrence Malick film?
I haven't, and I'm probably going to get shot for saying that. But
no. He's quite hard to watch, actually, Terrence Malick. A lot of his films, I'd say they're kind of this impressionist thing. The camera moves around a lot. The editing is very sort of messy, so audio bleeds between clips and you don't really know where you are or what's going on, and the plot is not really the important part. It's the sort of texture and the feeling of the whole thing. So if you, for example, really loved Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and you really enjoy like the Fast and Furious films, you can't wait for the next Marvel film, there's almost no way this is your kind of film.
But if you're interested in kind of being shown as something weird and wonderful and psychedelic in some places.
Yeah, like a psychedelic. Skins is kind of what I thought. The TV show, if you remember that.
Yeah, it's very much otherworldly, and there are some really good performances, I think, and some hidden British talent that's been discovered. The Alice girl, the one with the nose ring and kind of blue hair, she seemed very engaging and captivating when she was on screen. And Lucien Charles Collier, I think that's his name, he was very captivating. And this is probably the right time to mention the fact that the film has a thing which I haven't really seen before in a conventional film. It really wants to have no real main character. You definitely follow Gabriel, the daughter's father, as he goes and investigates, but he's not really a main character. And the film doesn't really focus on any one in particular. Instead, it is very concerned with giving you perspective from each of these characters. Yeah. They kind of take the focus at different parts of the movie. And that's kind of your gateway into the world. It's quite disorientating and intriguing at the same time. You're sort of waiting to sort of it all to click into place, I'd say.
But it resists that basically right the way through to the end, doesn't it?
And in some ways, I guess that's because it doesn't want you to sort of be able to dismiss these characters. It wants you to work hard to understand their complexity. And
check this out, listeners. I'm going to do my artsy-fartsy thing. So, Alex, if you're listening, this is for you, because, this might sound very strange and a different approach to storytelling, but this is a very old approach to storytelling. May I say to you, Phil, that the Iliad by Homer is actually constructed more like this than you might imagine. The Iliad, you think, is all about Brad Pitt defeating Eric Bana outside the walls of Troy, right? Actually, that's not really like that. The Iliad, as you read it, is the weird stream of consciousness battle. You constantly lose sense of the timeline and the place. You stay with one hero for a while, and then you just move to another one, and you don't come back to the hero before, but you still end up with a massive overall picture of the Iliad. And then similarly, James Joyce probably would have loved this because his poetry was very sort of impressionist. I remember one lecturer describing it to me as like the written equivalent of an orchestra tuning up to all the instruments play at once. And in a way, it's cacophonous. In a way, it makes a beautiful noise. So there you go. There's my artsy-fartsy part over. Now, may I say, I'm not sure that I can say that I liked it. I think that's how I feel overall, Phil. And I think in particular, I wasn't keen on some of the dialogue between the teenagers because it wasn't clear whether the film was trying to present some of their thoughts on life, death, and the universe as valuable and as deep, or whether they were kind of frivolous and just teenage and sort of immature. And I kept thinking it was trying to say that it was deep in the end. And if there was supposed to be depth in some of that, then I disagree, basically.
But having said that, I think at times that's true, and maybe that's inevitable with something which is a bit more art house and a bit more unconventional. You're going to get sort of a bit more ponderous dialogue. But there were moments when the teenagers really did seem like teenagers. There was one scene where they're discussing the piercings that they got, and they're sort of hanging around in their house, and they're all drinking and just sort of chatting, and they're giggling and laughing at each other, which I felt was quite authentic and just believable. And so that you've got these kind of very realistic sort of natural scenes between teenagers as they chat, and then these very intentional pieces of dialogue and monologues. And so it kind of jars and conflicts and juxtaposes itself quite nicely in some ways. I definitely was intrigued for the duration of the movie, but at the end, I wasn't sure if it was a movie for me.
Yeah, sure thing. And I agree, Phil. I was intrigued right through to the end, but for me, it was probably more the visuals more than anything else. Because
the visuals were stunning.
There's some really creative camera work and angles and use of small interior spaces. I think there's a sequence towards the end where the dad is going through a sort of rave, basically.
Like a neon party.
That's fantastic. I thought that was wonderfully shot. And I really felt like, actually, there are some shots from that wouldn't have been out of place in a film like Blade Runner, for example. And it's, obviously the films are completely poles apart, but actually when Gabriel, the dad, is sort of emerging in sort of semi-darkness and lurid things are kind of happening left and right, that was a brilliant bit of sort of dreamlike chaos, wasn't it, on film? So lots of things that were very visually impressive, technically impressive. So I don't know how to grade it really, Phil, because it's a film unlike any that I've seen, really.
And it's not sort of the normal film that Super Baby Bros review, but it was interesting watching it. And
it would be fair to say we're not really sure how to grade it, because every other film that we cover, it sticks to very clear conventions.
And it's about entertainment rather than about anything else.
That is not what this film's doing. So I don't feel that we can grade it, but hopefully you guys can pick up how we felt from our little rambly thoughts there.
If you have seen Spaceship or you go check it out in the cinemas, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the film, what you think it meant, what it was trying to say, all that sort of stuff. We'd be really interested to know what other people's responses were to the film. And I guess we're going to hear from Benedict when he's back in... is he in Cannes at the moment?
Back in Cannes. He's going to be in Cannes, yeah. We're going to get some updates from the Cannes Film Festival from him. Very exciting.
But when he's back, I'm sure we'll get a little bit of an update on what he made of Spaceship.
Nice. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. Thanks very much, Alex, for being willing to be on our show.
Any other bonuses?
Well, there was a bad poem in there, but I think it was meant to be bad. I think it was satire. Do you remember the guy just saying disco over and over again? Remember that, no?
I'm not sure if that was satire.
I think it was. Listeners, definitely give it a watch if you can. Love to know your thoughts.